Hey guys, it feels like every other week or so we're here talking about how a Sweet Baby Inc. partner or a Sweet Baby Inc. client has a game that completely flops, and then the dev studio that partnered with Sweet Baby Inc. they go through massive financial issues, maybe layoffs, maybe go out of business entirely. All this sort of a really bad stuff. And well, here we are today. Over at Fandom Pulse, they have the headline Sweet Baby Inc. Infected Reflector Entertainment admits that Unknown 9 Awakening was a quote unquote failure. So, yeah, Reflector Entertainment was the dev studio that had partnered with SBI, and Unknown 9 Awakening was indeed that game that has completely flopped, and one that we've covered a few times here on the channel. Some quick stats to recap Unknown 9 Awakening. It's got a. Man, that's bad. I just pulled up the SteamDB page and I'm like instantly met with a glaring red text here that says 35%. That's such a negative review score. Oh my gosh, that's terrible. And 10 people in game. That's why I was like laughing instantly. My bad. It's just as soon as I loaded the page, it just looks so bad. And I've seen this before, but it's still funny to see this. And all-time peak player count 285, 24-hour peak 16, and in the game right now, 10. But this is all so much funnier because they had also expected this game to be such a smash hit. They thought this was going to be so successful that they had this whole freaking like cinematic universe-esque thing, which I've once again covered this before and shown this image before, but for those who haven't seen this, there you go. And for those who have seen it, you can laugh at this once again because these people thought they were going to release this game, then have a whole comic book series, a novel trilogy, scripted podcast, web series. Like, they really thought this was going to be the next big thing. Alas, it turns out that Sweet Baby Inc. didn't really help them very much, did they? And that whole modern audience they were hoping to get, well, they got all 10 of them. Or, okay, to be fair, a little bit more than 10. But, it's not good. Really quick, here's an example from the final boss fight of the combat, but also the dialogue. It just comes off so uninspired and generic. Like, I don't think they could have made it more boring if they tried. You know what, I don't want to make a bet on that, but you get the point.
Here I come. Your end is upon you.
You're too late. Reka will free session. You will be little more than a thorn in her side.
What is happening?
And so, yeah, this was basically, for those who haven't seen the gameplay and all that, I'm trying not to rehash everything too much here because I think most people are familiar with this who are tuning in probably. But essentially, you know how it is. Another one of these like DEI, Sweet Baby Inc. sort of games. And yeah, we've seen how that worked out for them. Not very well at all. Like, it's worked out terribly. Like, astronomical failure. Terrible, terrible. So anyways, Fandom Pulse then writes, Reflector Entertainment, the developer of Unknown 9 Awakening, admitted its entire transmedia project centered around the video game is a failure. In a post to LinkedIn, CEO Herve Howard of Reflector Entertainment announced the company would be laying off employees due to the game's failure, and that the company would not be working on a future project that was in a concept phase. Howard wrote, Today I informed our teams that I made the decision to not greenlight further work on a future project that was in conceptualization phase, and thus terminating this development line. Continuing this project would not have been sustainable for the future of the studio. Regrettably, this also means that there will be redundancies following this decision. Next, he admitted Unknown 9 Awakening's failure. This decision correlates directly with the failure of the studio's ambitious and courageous first project, a new intellectual property with a rich transmedia universe. The performance of the release didn't come near the company expectations after numerous timeline adjustments and investments, both financially and other, and didn't warrant any further exploration in this universe. From there, he detailed the current staff that is not getting laid off will be reassigned to an existing Bandai Namco IP. This new announcement comes after the company began mass laying off employees back in November. In a now deleted blog post, Reflector Entertainment General Manager Marc-Andre Seguin announced the company was reducing our team by approximately 18% of Reflector's total workforce. As for why the layoffs were happening, Seguin said, yeah, I don't know, my bad. That guy said, today's announcement isn't driven by commercial success or external pressures, but stems instead from our current reality, which is that at this time we cannot guarantee tangible work for all of the talented individuals we employ. With the recent release of Unknown 9 Awakening and our two key production lines entering the early stages of development, We must make sure that our staff is laser focused on contributing to the projects that wholly benefit from their skill sets. Later in the post, he says, this shift will allow us to take the necessary time to refine our processes and perfect our upcoming projects so that we can deliver experiences that are both meaningful and memorable for players. I like how they talk about making it meaningful and memorable for players when they don't have any players to begin with. Like, maybe they should have focused on making the game actually, like, appealing. For one, that might help. And look, I'm kidding around a little bit. Like, a good game probably will be meaningful and memorable, but you know what I mean. It just sounds kind of funny when you take a look at the peak player count, which was like sub 300. Maybe I'm kind of taking a jab at low-hanging fruit, though, I will admit. Perhaps I'm being a bit petty. But you know what? When we're talking about a Sweet Baby Inc. affiliate, maybe there's no such thing as acting petty. I don't know. Continuing. Unknown 9 Awakening only hit an all-time peak concurrent player count of 285 when it released in the middle of October. The poor player count came in the wake of the game being openly boycotted by numerous gamers, after it was revealed that Reflector not only employed Sweet Baby Inc. co-founder David Bedard, but it had contracted with the company's CEO Kim Belair to be a story architect. So, quick side note, the last time I talked about this game, a lot of people in the comments were laughing at that, like Kim Belair calling herself a story architect. Bedard and Belair's involvement were confirmed by the Shorty Awards that listed their credits on the entire branded project for Unknown 9. The write-up ends with Fandom Pulse asking, what do you make of this admission that the game and the transmedia project was a failure? Some people say that we shouldn't laugh at these devs, any devs like this rather, and that we're supposed to feel bad for them for losing their jobs. The thing is, most of these sort of people, if not all of them, are not genuine individuals who got into gaming because they love video games and they love gamers. They despise gamers, and a lot of them don't even like gaming or creating video games. They only get into this line of work as a way of facilitating their own political rhetoric and or trying to make some sort of DEI slop that they can then try and secure ESG funding, whether that's through some sort of investment firm or government program. A lot of them also turning around and then using that money to stuff their own pockets with in very corrupt ways. And then they end up releasing their DEI slop games. The modern audience doesn't show up, their game flops, and oh no, what did we do? In many cases, a lot of those people then turn around and try to play victim, blaming the gamers. Gamers just didn't support our product because they're a bunch of chuds, blah, 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 blah. Maybe they hit up their buddies at Kotaku or The Gamer, try and get these corpo journalists to write some article that's like a hit piece against gamers and try to prop the game up and get them some sales, and that usually doesn't work out either, and usually is very generous. It like never works out for them. So yeah, it's a complete mess. So yeah, it really shouldn't be surprising why gamers don't feel bad for these corpos. And that's really all I got to say about that little side note, as well as the continuing downfall of Reflector Entertainment after the release of their game Unknown 9 Awakening. But definitely consider letting me know what you think about all this stuff in the comments. As always, thank you for tuning in. Also consider liking and or subscribing to the channel if you enjoyed the coverage. Appreciate ya, and I'll see you in the next one.